Let's switch gears. We've been talking about it all show, and that is the ongoing operation there in Iran. And we've been getting updates. It's the ever-evolving situation. I feel like we've gotten a million updates over the course of this afternoon on what's going on there. Now, here on the show, we have Nevin Papat, professor and chair of the Department of Political Science at UNC Chapel Hill. He joins us now to help provide some context of what's going on. A lot of folks have questions. Professor Papat, so President Trump said this operation in Iran will wrap up in about 4 to 5 weeks. Is it really that simple?
Typically, no. The answer is if you're going to engage in any sort of regime change, the first question is what happens during the regime change? Who then gets to take power? The next question is how do you then maintain that power? So that typically will take longer. So again, it does depend on what the ultimate goal is here. The stated goal is to depose the Iranian regime. The strategy seems to be to use military force right now to weaken them, as the U.S. has done. It's decapitated several of the leadership of the Iranian state. And then based on Mr. Trump's statement, the hope is that there's an uprising of some sort and the Iranian people are able to depose what's left of the regime. So it could go that way. It could also be an effort to do something similar to Venezuela, where the Trump administration makes a deal with some senior leadership that steps into the void left by the Ayatollah, that then takes power and is then cooperative with U.S. objectives. That outcome is likely to move faster than the other one, but it's not clear if that outcome is possible given the current state of relationship between the United States and Iran. So I don't think we can anticipate this just all being wrapped up in 4 to 5 weeks. I think it will take some time, no matter what happens at the end of this, because there has to be some time for the new state to form and to take hold and then to start foreign relations. So it will take some more time.
Yeah, along the same lines, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said this is not going to be an endless war in reference to what played out, what started over 20 years ago at this point. And the goal is not regime change. When you hear that, I just want to kind of get your perspective on that.
So, I mean, I think there is obviously an incentive to say this won't be Iraq again. I think that is looked at as toxic politically. So I can understand the Secretary of Defense saying that it's not going to be like that again. If the goal is leadership change or regime change or whatever it may be, any which way, because of the structure of the Iranian state, it's not the case that you can just have a leader step down and somebody steps in without any sort of difficulty, because the system is such, which is common with many autocratic states, that there is not a clear successor after, and that's purposive. And that if there's no clear successor after, it's hard to overthrow the person that's in charge. So there is going to be a bit of a transition here, and it's not going to be necessarily as easy or clean as maybe some have suggested. I think it will take some more time.
Now, according to the AP, I want to cite them. They said the Kremlin said that Russian President Vladimir Putin held calls with leaders from Qatar, Bahrain, and voiced their concerns about this hostility expanding. The level of concern at this point, what's that? And is that a possibility?
Well, I would say is that the conflict has already expanded, right? So Iran has attacked multiple states that are aligned with the United States that have U.S. bases in them, which you can say makes sense given that they were attacked from those bases. But that has now dragged in several neighbors in the Middle East. So in that sense, the conflict has already moved beyond just the U.S., Israel, and Iran. It involves now Qatar, involves the UAE, involves Saudi Arabia, right? And now Lebanon has been attacked by Israel as well, and Hezbollah has attacked Israel. So we're now seeing a larger set of conflicts in the Middle East play out. And so I think that's happened. If it expands beyond this region, that I don't necessarily foresee. I don't necessarily see Russia getting involved in this. I don't think China has the assets or the appetite to do that as well. So I think this is basically going to be confined to a large conflagration in the Middle East with many states.
Yeah, well, Congress is set to be briefed on this if they haven't already. I know the Gang of Eight has. And they also are set to vote on the powers resolutions, basically limiting President Trump's military operations in Iran specifically. If that were to go through, and that's a big if because it has an uphill battle, would this have any impact on the administration moving forward?
So historically, the War Powers Act is something that hasn't been used. It's very difficult to use. And just so you can imagine the political situation, it's going to be difficult for any representative to vote on constraining funding to soldiers that are already in theater, right? So it's difficult to actually make that work. If it were the case that Congress does pass the War Powers Resolution, it would have to go, again, through multiple channels to do that. My guess is that the Trump administration would immediately appeal to the Supreme Court. And that the operations and the funding would be continued pending that decision. Again, many presidents before Trump have said that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. My guess is the Trump administration would adopt that argument as a mechanism to try to continue its campaign in the Middle East. So Congress can do things, right? It has the ability to cut funding for this, but how quickly they can do that, again, that sort of remains to be seen. Whether or not they can actually use the War Powers Act or will use the War Powers Act, that sort of remains to be seen.
Nevin Papat, Professor, Chair, Department of Political Science at UNC Chapel Hill. I literally could have you on for hours, just ask you questions about this, but I won't promise to have you back. But thank you for your context in this, again, ever-evolving situation there in the Middle East.
Thank you.